Hey, what's up? I need to complain. I need to complain. And it's once again about ruins. Lily, what? In an earlier video, I was about, I don't know, 25% into ruins, and I was complaining because the politics of academia were keeping me up at night. So let me backtrack and tell you about this book and tell you about how it's been ruining my life. Ruins follows Ember. Ember is in her mid-30s, mid to late 30s. She's teaching at a university, doesn't like it. She is I want to say anthropologist, but archaeologist. And she has been putting in grant proposal after grant proposal after grant proposal and keeps getting rejected and stuck with teaching first-year courses instead. And she wants to just be a great archaeologist out in the field doing her digs, but instead she's stuck doing service courses. And she lives with her husband, Jerome, who is like a gardener, soft man type who's like cooking for her and kind of taking care of the house. And also, I think he has a job, but very sort of non-confrontational. And she's not a very nice person. She doesn't like her students. She doesn't like the other faculty members. She has one friend in the faculty, an older woman, that's about it. And she's deeply unhappy. And then you find out that one of her grad students went insane, had to leave the program, and they together conspired to send him south so that he could recover an archaeological artifact that would prove one of her theories. And she hears that he's on his way back with the artifact. It is as we thought. Very exciting. Very, very exciting. So I'm like loving where this is going at first, right? Even though the grad school politics and academia and stuff is like a little triggering because it's been 5 years since I was doing my PhD, and yet it feels like it was yesterday. So I will now spoil because I need to complain. Before reading this book, I would have told you I recommend anything Lily Brooks-Dalton writes, but Ruins is a flop for me so far. I mean, I'm 60% in. Maybe something will change. But the reveal has been exhausting. The reveal. So, the artifact makes it home, but Ember, our main character's ex-grad student, does not. He dies on the way. And once the artifact makes it home, well, it disproves everything we knew about the pre-crisis people who we thought were illiterate and had no technology. But this artifact, it's a strange flat object with holes on the sides, possibly used for power, and a fruit embedded on the back. Partially eaten fruit, perhaps. Maybe an apple. This is where she lost me. This is where she completely lost me. Because this book is meant to be set thousands of years into the future, and we are, whoa, big reveal, we are the civilization that no one knows about because all our writing disappeared, all our tech disappeared after the Great Crisis and the Great Collapse. Like, okay, I'm willing to entertain that can happen, that 99.9 etc% of us gets wiped out. Only a few continue. Humanity tries to survive. Things pass into memory, memory to myth, myth into legend, etc. I'm willing to entertain that. What I'm not willing to entertain is that the university system reemerges in exactly the same way. I'm not willing to entertain the fact that these future people don't think we existed, don't think we had power, don't think we had writing, and yet have graduate students and faculties and things like that named exactly like us. Hold on, I have a list. I have a list of things. I don't even know whether to call them anachronisms. Frustrations. I have a list of frustrations. Where is it? Ruins, Lively Brooks-Dalton. Things that society retained. I started making a list because this was driving me crazy. This is supposed to be my bedtime book. Graduate students, the university system as a whole, as well as tenure. It's called getting your laurels or whatever in this context, but it's just tenure. Bicycles. Randomly, there's bicycles in this society. Oh yeah, because it's revealed that the entire society is just the continent of Greenland, like the island of Greenland, and everything south of that has been in a climate collapse and unexplored. But they have bikes. They reinvented bicycles. Jerome, her husband, makes a curry. They go to chapel. They wear black for mourning. Okay, maybe there's something innate about that, and some reason humans would recreate that. But that tradition was completely lost. Are we really convinced that it would? My next bullet point just says weeks. The concept of weeks, because months have an observable biological basis. Like, it makes sense to base time on the day cycle, light dark. It makes sense to count time based on the phases of the moon. It makes sense to count time based on the seasons. But the concept of weeks is not observable in nature. Why would they have weeks? I just wrote no biological basis. It's not observable in nature. I wrote nail polish, 3 question marks. There's the scene where Ember is at a store and picking nail polish colors. That's all I have to say about that. And then I wrote, how are they brewing coffee in Greenland? Where do they come from? I'm willing to entertain the fact that, the Earth globally got hotter, so now coffee grows in Greenland, sure, but how are they brewing coffee there? Things I'm not being a hater about. I made another list. It has 2 bullet points. Functional parts of the home, so a concept of a garden and a kitchen. Those make sense. It's a spot in your home where you grow your food and a spot in your home where you prepare your food. I'm willing to entertain that. Less willing to entertain this whole scene where Ember is staying at her friend's place because she is divorcing her sweet soft man Jerome, and her friend is repainting her kitchen cabinets and like sanding them down. Okay, these people don't have electricity, allegedly, but it's only there like by ambition, but there's this ambient sense of modernity that you can't tell that they don't have electricity, if that makes sense. Like, it's never mentioned, but its absence isn't felt. And they're sanding and repainting kitchen cabinets. They have kitchen cabinets. The other thing I'm not being a hater about, rituals such as funerals. Elephants have funerals, so maybe that's a myth, I don't know. Even retirement homes, so Ember's mother dies, it's like a little flashback, dies in a retirement community, has dementia, doesn't remember Ember the last time Ember comes to visit, and Ember's painting her nails. Very modern. Okay, I'm willing to entertain that they have some form of retirement community. I'm even willing to entertain they have some form of elder care that accounts for dementia. But come on. Because then things they don't know about the past, that we had electricity. Literally there's this whole plot about how when the artifact comes back, the government makes like a secret hearing over several weeks to establish whether we should tell people about the artifact and whether it's even real. And part of it is they're like, oh, Ember, what do you think the artifact is? And she's like, oh, well, describing it, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I think this was like a power source. And they're like, what? You think people before the crisis knew hydroponic power? Like, they don't think we had any power. That's the no electricity, no hydroponics, nothing. So we have to assume that everything that's powered and anything that we have to assume that this society reinvented all these things that we invented in exactly the same way. And that's just an example of convergent evolution that I am not willing to entertain. It is actually really annoying. Very little writing remains, so the society doesn't, like, literally is like, the pre-crisis people were illiterate. But then she finds an iPhone. Let's see, my late night notes say, this implies, the above implies, no, what is this sentence trying to say? This implies that the above was independently established in some weird convergent evolution. I would be so much less irritated if it were present day and insights into a past civilization that didn't actually exist, like an ancient alien situation. Like, she goes to Antarctica and finds the missing link and humans who had way more advanced tech than we thought they did. That would be more interesting. I would even be okay with an alien subplot. But, like, last thing I wrote here, either this actually falls apart after like more than 30 seconds of scrutiny, or I am massively missing something. But I'm now at 60% of this book. I will finish it. Because now I'm at the part where in the hearing they were like, ooh, iPhone dangerous. We can't tell people. Ember, you are discredited. We don't want that. You're not going to get your tenure. We're going to give it to the arrogant guy who you don't like instead. Also, your life is over. And her divorce is happening, and also her ex-lover from 10 years ago has reappeared on the scene, but won't forgive Ember. You know, all these kind of little personal subplots. But one person on that committee that was deciding whether we could tell everyone about the iPhone is like, hey, Ember, so by the way, you know how it's illegal to travel south to the continent? So to North America? To go on an archaeological dig. I actually think you should do it. And by the way, I have a lot of money and I can just get a ship and they'll ignore it. Like, laws don't apply to me. So gather your crew and leave whenever you want. So now I'm at the part. They've been on the ship. Ember is like, oh my god, are we all gonna die on this ship? And then they get to the little settlement that's like right in the little harbor, the few people that live there, and they're all scared of the rest of the continent that's been ravaged by drought and fires, and no one ever goes there. Except this one guy. They remember there's this one guy that went there. He had orange hair and freckles. And it was Ember's graduate student who mysteriously died. Oh yeah, and he left behind a bunch of journals that she got with his stuff when it was returned to her, and she kept secret from everyone else. And they're like rambling journals with no punctuation because he lost his mind. And we get little excerpts of them. They're not, I don't know. I don't think the novel is being successful in what it's trying to do. I don't feel compelled by it whatsoever. I still have a good third of it left. Maybe good things will happen. Maybe. Please, Lily. Okay, hopefully, the next portion of this video will be me telling you that actually everything I just complained about has been resolved, but I know it won't be. I know it won't be. The book is too earnest. And just, I'm so frustrated about this because it's reminding me of another highly anticipated book I read not too long ago, Terra Nullius, which also did like a little fake out of like, oh, you think we're in the past, but we're actually in the future and there's aliens. And somehow that was less frustrating than Ruins, because in Terra Nullius, at least I was like, all right, I see what you're going for. It's a little on the nose, but whatever. In Ruins, I'm like, why? Why? It's like she started with a concept and then also was writing a book set in present day and then did some control F to retrofit the concept into a book that already half existed. It really isn't working for me. And I'm really sad about that. Alright, so I finished the book, and I finished rewatching my rant about the book, and I still stand by everything I said. I don't think there's too much that I want to criticize that wasn't covered in my rant, because honestly, it's kind of the same stuff that kept coming up for me. The main character being profoundly unlikable and not in a satisfying way, not in an interesting way, was very frustrating. So what I last told you about was that they reached a city further south where everyone was like, don't go further south than this, that's where the scary climate collapses. But they do, they go further south, and they get stuck in a storm. Oh no, we're all gonna die. And the ship is damaged. Oh no, we're all gonna die. But don't worry, because we've landed where we wanted to land. And a few different things happen, like part of the team, the ship people are working on the ship, the archaeology people are exploring. One of them twists her ankle or breaks her ankle, falling into what is implied to be a subway, like a long, long tunnel with lots of arches that occasionally has like a chamber that looks almost inhabitable. Like it could have been for transportation. And our main character, Ember, is like, we have to stay here as long as possible, but summer's coming, the temperatures are getting warmer, how will we survive? I was reading this during the first major heat wave of the year, and I was like, yeah, I'm feeling it. But I wasn't actually feeling it from the book. I felt like the atmosphere wasn't coming across. I don't know how much of that was me just not being receptive to it, me already being skeptical of the book, and just not being able to enjoy that portion of it, but I couldn't engage with the narrative anymore. I found it honestly kind of boring. We had a side character die, and I did not care. I had to go back and be like, wait, did they actually die? I don't understand. I was left profoundly unsatisfied, and especially the ending of the book where our main character chooses to abandon her crew and just go and explore because she thinks she sees other living people or signs of other living people. We don't know if she actually does. We never find out, which is fine. I love an ambiguous ending. That's actually not what I'm frustrated about. I'm just frustrated about how it was done. It just didn't resonate. It didn't hit me the way her other books hit me. I did appreciate the implication that her student might also have done the same thing and stayed behind and be presumed dead, because it's implied that her crew leaves after she disappears from camp and they presume she's dead. Like, they spend some time looking for her, but eventually, they can't find her and they have to go home, kind of thing, once they rebuilt the boat. And they stay through all summer and they're kind of fine. Like, no one's like dying of hunger. So that's a whole thing. They have like a cook to deal with that, and the cook finds fish and everything's fine. I don't know, I didn't like it. Let me look at my notes. I have a note that says, okay, so they're stranded and the guy spends a month trying to fix the motor and then is like, oops, I can't do it. And only then do they go, maybe we should find some trees to build some new masts. Like, what were you guys doing for a month? You had 3 masts, 2 of them collapsed. Why were you just waiting on the guy to fix your hydroponic motor? Weird to be reading this during a heat wave. There's a random death and injury, and I just don't care. And then I wrote some reflections about what was it that I usually really like about Lily Brooks-Dalton's books? Lily Brooks-Dalton's books that I really didn't like here. In The Light Pirate and in Good Morning Midnight, there was this like innate humanity and curiosity that was associated with that post-apocalyptic survival. It's the same thing that makes Emily St. John Mandel one of my favorite writers. It's that sense, the Star Trek quote that she borrows in Station 11, survival is insufficient. And just that spark of humanity and that love for humanity. And I think this is why Ember didn't work for me as a character, is that her curiosity didn't feel authentic because it wasn't rooted in any kind of love. Like, she had this academic curiosity, or was purported to have an academic curiosity for this ancient culture that was more about her proving her pet theory than her actually admiring the ancient culture and being fascinated by it and loving humanity and loving the continuity of humanity. Like, it was more about being controversial than it was about our shared legacy over thousands of years. And that translated to how she treated other people. Like, there's this whole reflection towards the end where she's thinking about abandoning her crew and just following these signs of life that she's seeing, where she goes, well, no one's actually going to miss me. Like, my ex-husband's going to be happier with me gone. My student will be happier with me gone. Like, it's almost like a suicide rationalization. And the worst part is I kind of agreed with her. I'm like, yeah, girl, actually, you're making all these people's lives actively worse. And you're running away from it instead of facing consequences. And you're running away from it for, it wasn't even, like, kind of a selfish curiosity that wasn't rooted in anything that I found empathetic or interesting or kind. Yeah, I wrote that entire sequence is bleak. It's just bleak. And I think at that point is when I cued in that it was kind of implied that it was similar mindset that her student had gone through. I don't know if I'm reading into this, but because her student had attempted to kill himself, and that reminded me a lot of like a almost suicide narrative, I was like, oh, did he also just stay behind and is presumed dead? Maybe he's the one sending her these signals or whatever, but that's honestly just me speculating. I don't know if that's actually openly hinted at. Yeah, and then I wrote that the story perturbed me, but didn't give me that sense that I typically get from her other books. And instead it just left me feeling kind of bleak, kind of empty, and it made the book kind of forgettable. And that's the last thing I wrote is my last bullet point. The climate stuff was kind of just boring. The climate collapse happened, but we don't actually get information about it. We don't find out very much about what happened or how it happened. There's a few mentions here and there, but they're fundamentally uninteresting. Like, there are these passages towards the end of each chapter that are fragments from either her Ember's notebooks or her students' notebooks. And sometimes they just sort of philosophize about archaeology, and it would have been so much interesting to have it be like actual documentation of what we already know about people from that part of the world. Like, I don't know, there is something about the execution of this that I think had so much potential, and it absolutely did not land for me. It just didn't land, and I'm really disappointed about it because there's a good book in here somewhere. I know what Lily Brooks-Dalton can do, and I'm actually, like, really sad. I think that's the worst part. I feel really sad because I'm thinking to how her other two books end, and they do end bleakly. Good Morning Midnight is not a happy story. It's a story about loneliness and the insane loneliness of being the only survivor and whether that's worth existing. But there is a little bit of hope there. while here, The Light Pirate has that too a little bit, and then in Ruins, it's more like, oh, I don't fit into this society, let me go see what's going on in that society. But the reasons that she doesn't fit in this society are because she's not a fundamentally kind or compassionate or loving or curious person. Like, there's no redemption. I don't know. Let me know if I'm being too critical. Let me know if you agree with me. I want to be convinced otherwise, frankly, because this was such a highly anticipated read for me, and I am painfully disappointed. Yeah, I'm really disappointed. I'm not lately I haven't really been giving star ratings to books anymore because I kind of don't care. And sometimes it's useful as like a little benchmark, but right now, like, my enjoyment of this, 2 stars? Maybe? Like, it's not that I wish I hadn't read it, it's that I wish it had been a different book. But it's in the shape of a book I would like. I think that's what I find so frankly distressing. This feels like such a mean review, and it's so awful to be giving this kind of review for a highly anticipated book from someone who I would consider one of my favorite currently producing authors. It makes me really nervous about actually the upcoming Emily St. John Mandel book, Exit Party, that's coming out in September, because Lily Brooks-Dalton is like my Emily St. John Mandel Jr. in my head. They like kind of fit a similar niche, and I love them both for kind of similar reasons. So a little bit nervous. Let me know if you enjoy this like longer complaint explanation deep dive into a book. I might do this format for a couple of other books that either leave me that have an emotional impact on me. Actually, frankly, that's the most interesting kinds of books to talk about. And this one had a profound emotional impact on me. It just wasn't a positive one. But let me know if you like this format, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching. It's lovely to chat with you about books, crafts, vlog stuff, life stuff. Currently doing, round 5 of having my channel find its feet and figuring out what it is that I want to do with this space. So I really appreciate you. Have a great day. Go read a good book, and let me know if you liked this one, if you did read it. Okay, bye.